Hi, I'm Gary White for Channel 6 Central Kentucky Television, and today I'm here with several members of the Black Lives Matter movement here in Lebanon and Marion County, and we're going to share some of their stories, talk a little bit about the Black Lives Matter movement and some of the rallies and protests that you've been having here in Lebanon and Marion County, and also some that you have coming up, and also to make people aware of why you are moving, why you're having these protests. So kind of open some eyes, hopefully, to what needs to be known to the public. So with me, I have, starting with Corian Moffitt, who is one of the organizers for the Black Lives Matter movement, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I do want to say, everybody here is from Lebanon and Marion County, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we are, obviously, for Central Kentucky, we're in Marion, Washington, and Nelson counties. Is there a Black Lives Matter movement in all three of our counties, Marion, Washington, Nelson? Are you aware?
I'm not really aware of Washington County. I know they have some things going on in Bardstown and Nelson County. I know they have things going on in Greensburg and Taylor County and also in Adair County, because we've been to a few of these counties and showed unity and actually been out there protesting with them.
Right. This is something that everybody needs to be made aware of, and if there isn't one in Washington County, if you're from Washington County, you can contact any of the members here and they'd be happy to talk to you about it as well. We also have with us, we have Caleb Ibarra, right? And we have Kendra Furman, we have Tay Robinson, and Tiara Clark as well, who are all going to share with us. So let's get started and talk a little about the Black Lives Matter movement. Obviously, across the nation, actually internationally, the movement has really seen a lot of media publicity with instances that have been going on, well, very close to home in Louisville with Breonna Taylor, but also in Minneapolis and in various other areas all around the country. So tell us, is this something new to Marion County, this particular Lebanon and Marion County division of Black Lives Matter movement? Is there something new that has started up?
I would say it is fairly new. Now, to say that as far as the police brutality, the racial injustice, the systematic racism that's going on, this has been going on way long, for a long time, years now, you know. But Breonna Taylor and George Floyd gave us a platform, so now the whole country can speak up. So it's not just about Marion County, it's not just about Louisville, it's about everywhere. It's time for us all to take a stand and unite.
So if we could each share for us, why did you decide to become a member of the Black Lives Matter movement? And we'll start down here with Corian if you want to, and then we'll work our way down.
The reason I feel like that I became a part of the Black Lives Matter movement is because I've dealt with so many personal experiences myself in Marion County, personally, with racism, growing up in the school systems here and everything. Also with instances where I felt like I was racially profiled by the police, you know. And I had went down to Atlanta and went to one of their protests, and it actually, you know, when I seen all of the black people and the people of color unite and come together, and also there was white people, and everybody was there, and it was like common ground, everybody was coming together for a common cause, it like really struck something in me, and it's like, you know, maybe it's time for me to take a stand back home as well. And that's really why I decided to, you know, step out here and let my voice be heard.
Fantastic. Okay.
Gary, my background is in social work and the education world as well, so knowing that people like you and I have a certain degree of privilege and that I've dedicated a substantial part of my life and my career to fighting for equality, it felt like the right thing to do, not just professionally but personally. It's a humanitarian matter. If you truly believe that all lives are equal, then I believe you should be fighting the fight along with us. I've told people several times, and I'll continue to tell people, that I will stop when I feel like the students of color, particularly the black students in Lebanon and Marion County, believe and truly believe that their life can be valuable and they can do anything they want, and it's not just limited to music or athletics, because unfortunately that seems to be the sort of shrunken worldview that society gives to our young black students.
I personally, I have 2 young female daughters that I'm raising, and not only that, I feel like they can be a victim to what happened to Breonna. And also, these last 14 months, I feel like I have been a victim of being judged by the color of my skin. And I feel like there's several people in the system that's done went in front of jurors that's been judged just because of the color of their skin, that didn't stand a fair chance just because they're black, and they wasn't given the fair opportunity as someone that is white, and they got a harder sentence just because they are black. And now it's a little more personal for me, so yeah, now it's more personal, and I've put my all into it, and it's a little more sensitive for me now. And you know, that's why I'm out there every day, and it's more and more now that I've gave it my all. I see it more and more every day in Marion County than I did before Breonna and George came about, because before then it was out there, but now since all of this came about, it's like people has taken their mask off, and it's like we were blinded before it. Now I guess everybody's been exposed, I guess, more. If you get what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I joined the movement because I have several nieces and nephews. I have a nephew that is always, you know, getting racially profiled because he's driving nice cars. And like, it's all coming to the light now once, you know, everything happened. And like she said, you know, I have a young niece that I'm bringing up in this world. And whatever happened, you know, what happened to Breonna, I definitely don't want it to happen to her. I have nephews, I don't want that to happen. What happened to George Floyd. And I just feel like everyone should join the movement because can be a change that should come.
I joined the movement because I've been silent for too long. I recognize that everybody's just trying to survive, but I've also had personal experiences where I know that there are certain groups of people who experience things a little bit differently, and to go to school and be in public health and realize that unfortunately a lot of those negative things we experience are because of the color of our skin or our racial background or our history as slaves. I think that it's just really time to stand up and make other people aware, because it's easy to discount what others say. And if we don't have a lot of voices bring attention to it, then it'll get swept under the rug, and it'll keep on getting swept under the rug. So I'll just do the best thing I can do. I'll speak, I'll write, I'll walk, I'll march, but people have to wake up and understand and pay attention. So that's why I joined.
We want to mention, too, a lot of people think that the Black Lives Matters movement is just because of police brutality, but it's a lot of different issues, and it's a systemic issue the issue that's been around for hundreds of years, really. So with this movement, are you feeling that there's some change occurring? Have you had positive responses? What's been your reaction from when you've been out protesting? Have you been positive?
Most definitely. I went in with the mindset when I began marching that there are some people who are not going to hear you. They do not want to hear you. They refuse, and they're not going to change their minds. But I'm not personally looking for those people. I'm looking for the people who are willing to listen and willing to be objective. And I was surprised to find that there are many, even people who may have had backgrounds that were questionable, can actually look at some of the experiences that other people have had and say, wow, I never really thought about that. I never thought that was in anyone's experience. So I definitely, anybody who's actually willing to listen and have a communication and have discourse about these things, I think that that's a definite positive.
And I know, too, as we said, this is the Lebanon and Marion County division or whatever for Black Lives Matters movement. And some people might be saying, this doesn't happen here. So Breonna Taylor was in Louisville, somebody else, that George Floyd was in Minneapolis, whatever. They're larger cities, what have you. Tell us about your experience and what you've been seeing happening here locally in our area as well.
I can speak a little bit on that. First thing I want to say about that, like you said, a lot of people say, oh no, this isn't going on in Marion County. No, this isn't going on in Lebanon. We got to understand, Breonna Taylor and George Floyd was used as a platform. Yes, this is where it happened at, but this was a platform from everybody across the country to use to bring these situations in awareness, no matter, and it is going on in Lebanon. And so I just want to give you kind of example. I want to touch on the first question a little bit too. Like, I've kind of seen positive and negative going on with us protesting, because we got some people, like she said, that just don't want to hear us. And honestly, you know, the past month or so, I felt like, you know, a lot of the leaders in the community don't want to hear us, whether it's the leader of the NAACP, whether it's the mayor of our community, because we've had events where we called all the leaders of the community out there, and we wanted to have a question and answer like we said that we would do today. And before the event even got to that situation, it's like the mayor got up there, the mayor of our community, who's supposed to be for the people, got up there and just totally went left with the conversation, and actually, I don't want to say incited, but kind of infuriated the people that was there to get their voice heard. And that's what the movement is about, is to get our voice heard. So when he done this and he riled everybody up, and then after he riled everybody up, he just left. Now it's like our voice can't be heard. This is the problems that we're dealing with. Why can't our voice be heard? And you know, but I can say I feel like the positive aspect, like back in May, I felt like the police in our community was pulling over a lot of black males, and they was pulling them over for traffic stop, and I personally dealt with it. I got pulled over by 4 police officers in the K-9 unit because they said to verify insurance. And this happened to several black males in our community in Marion County. So now though, I seen, since we've been out here protesting and stuff, I rarely see it now in Marion County. And that's honest, because I ride around kind of late, and I ride around these places that they told me are known as hot spots in Lebanon, just to see how they're acting, and I haven't seen it since we've been out here. So maybe, you know, we have initiated some positive change. And, you know, I don't know if it's the people, you know, they have other agendas, or they're really seeing like, hey, you know, maybe we do need to take a look at ourselves.
I'd also like to say that...
Here, let's get your mic here for you. Sorry.
I'd also like to say that I look at this as an opportunity for our community to be proactive. Just because it hasn't occurred doesn't mean that it can't.
Right.
And if anybody has those mindsets that there are people who are more criminal, more debased, if they have those mindsets and they go into a situation with those mindsets, then it could happen anywhere. There has been a case where the police have gone to the wrong address here in Marion County. So you could take it one more step, and that could be Breonna Taylor. That could be George Floyd. So if we have these conversations now, and if we educate now, and if we empower now, then we can prevent any of this from happening in our community, because I do not want that to be Marion County.
Can I ask what he would like to?
So when you talked about a minute ago, asked about the difference between, you know, the systemic racism issue and just the way that our country is built, honestly, upon racism. We had an event, a Juneteenth event celebration, and Tiara was actually sitting down and she spoke to some young people, they ranged in ages, but about what Juneteenth is and about their history. And I was just curious, so I asked, you know, what is racism to you? And to them it was racial slurs or people looking at you funny. So I think an important part of this movement is bringing to light that systemic issue. The discrimination in employment, discrimination in housing, discrimination in the medical field, a lot of those different issues that aren't as obvious, that I think a lot of Americans, black and white, Hispanic, of all races, don't even realize how severe those issues are in our country. So I think that it's really about education on that systemic issue. And that would be my response to the people who say, well, it doesn't happen in Marion County. Just because we haven't had a Breonna Taylor or George Floyd situation does not mean that we don't have a pretty severe racial profiling and discrimination issue in our community.
Are you seeing movement in that area? Are you seeing any people opening their eyes to discuss that as you're going through with your protests?
I think we've seen a lot of eyes opened, but we've also seen a lot of people who think it doesn't exist anymore because of the civil rights era and the Martin Luther Kings. However, I would say that stacking new legislation on top of a broken foundation is just a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Exactly.
For lack of a better choice of words. It's not, you can't change a system to benefit someone who it was created to hold back. Yeah, I mean, it's beyond the point of fixing, to me personally. It's about building something new and building something that allows all Americans to thrive equally.
So you would like to see some kind of restructuring of everything from the ground up, basically.
Ground up.
Absolutely. I mean, if you end police brutality and, you know, even if it weren't for, you know, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the situations they were in, despite what happens with the police officer, if he and I go into the courtroom, theoretically with the same criminal background and the same charges, history tells us that he's going to get a significantly longer sentence than I am. So,
have you ever been pulled over here in Lebanon and Marion County?
I have been pulled over twice, and I think what I can summarize it best with a meme I've seen on Facebook, honestly, because it's how us millennials do things. When I get pulled over, I fear for my bank account, for the ticket that I have to pay. I don't think about my life and that it could potentially end. And when we can all be pulled over and think that same way, then maybe we've made a step in the right direction.
And as we're doing this interview, we also have, it's being broadcast live on Facebook Live, I believe, on your page, and you do have a Facebook page for your organization, correct?
Yes.
And how can people sign up for that? What's the name of the page?
Is it Lebanon and Marion County Black Lives Matter?
Yep.
Lebanon and Marion County.
Lebanon and Marion County Black Lives Matter.
Okay. And so we may have some questions of people who are doing that. So if you hear us pop in with some questions or where they're coming from for this, because we'll be broadcasting this at a later date. But go ahead.
I wanted to, your question was, have we seen changes? As far as pushing through some of the systemic issues. And one of the biggest changes that I was surprised to see, and I kind of base my experiences off of some of the Facebook posts, were empathy. There have been lots of posts from people who don't happen to look like me, who can actually empathize. Being a mother, having children, and experiencing loss, and being able to say, I can put myself in that person's shoes. And that empathy is probably the most powerful tool that we can use to get people to understand and heal our issues.
You have had some rallies already, correct? And you have some others that you're planning. I believe you have something coming up on, you're going to be doing something every week, is that correct? Rallies that you have?
We're protesting on Fridays, every Friday at 8 o'clock. It'll be on the Facebook page where we'll be located every Friday.
We're going to try to meet at MLK every Friday, and then we'll go to where we're going to locate and start protesting at. Because we try to figure out, and I want to let everybody know, we try to figure out places in Marion County and in Lebanon where we know that we're going to make the biggest impact. We're going to be heard. Like, and I know, you know, some people don't like us being on Main Street because we got some that'll roll their window up, but we got some that's coming through where with their fist up and their horns honking, and that's what we need, because that's what gives us motivation. And we want to be in them spots. We want to be right there by McDonald's. We want to be where the traffic flow. We want to be heard. This is what we want. We want to be heard.
So the rallies are great to get notoriety, to get the information out, but to get the change that we're talking about, what do you need for that? Is it elections? How do you make that occur?
You want to speak on it, Kendra?
I was going to say, just because, and that's another thing, just because you guys don't see us out protesting, normally we're out either like we are now hosting a meeting or some sort, or we're sitting in the city council meetings or the NAACP meetings, or we're having a meeting amongst ourselves planning to see what's our next moves, or we're educating ourselves. We're constantly staying busy trying to see what's our next move, or we're traveling different areas to see what's our next go-to. But we're constantly trying to stay up on the education to see what we need to do next. But here lately we've been trying to get the ordinances and the police policies, which we still having a hard time to get those, to see what.
Have the local police been open to meetings or discussions with you?
Not quite.
At the beginning, you know, it was a lot of things at the beginning that, you know, I felt like people had hidden agendas. I'm just going to be quite frank and honest, you know. People, I mean, I was going to talk to the chief of police, the assistant chief. I talked to the mayor. I mean, I've sat down with all these people and had a conversation with them, very respectful, you know, and they, you know, they didn't like something that I had said to one of the officers whenever we first started the protesting. And I felt like, you know, at the time, that's how I felt, and I wouldn't take it back, you know. But they have ample time to address that with me privately. And like I said, the mayor came out there and he addressed it in front of the entire community, and the community wanted to ask some questions and address their issues. You got to say what you got to say, but you left. So now it's like everybody's kind of pushed themselves back in distance. Like at first they was blocking the roads, they was doing everything. Now you don't see them. You know, we got people harassing us. Sometimes, I'm not going to lie, some of the officers, they will, you know, they'll go out their car if they see somebody come through and try to harass us and things like that. But it's very minimal police presence right now. And honestly, I mean, there's no communication from the mayor's office at all.
In the beginning, Gary, when we first had reached out to our police departments and our mayor, they were seemingly very receptive to our message, and I mean, police officers who came out and walked with us one day. But when Corian talks about hidden agendas, you have to keep in mind a lot of people are joining us just to kind of placate us, and we're not looking to be placated. We don't want you to just talk to us and join us for your own PR. So there's a difference between supporting the movement and being there with us to make it look like you're there with us, if that makes sense. When we really started demanding and taking action against change, people weren't as receptive. There was one event where several of us had attended a city council meeting, and our group was in the hallway very peacefully protesting. And when we left the city hall that day, nearly the entire police force, I would say at minimum 8 cars, were sitting in the back parking lot. Nothing else seemed to be going on. So it just goes to show that, to an extent, they want it to look like they're supporting, but those hidden biases and their expectations of what we're doing, they're holding on to that instead of really hearing our message and trying to learn what we're doing. So I think that's what we ask the most, or that's what I personally ask the most. I don't want to speak for the group. From our community leaders, is that you listen to us and respect what we're trying to say, and don't let your own expectations of what we want or what you think we want guide how you feel about our movement.
I think that the stress was heavy on peacefulness, and I think that a lot of people may have attended just to get that message across, but it was preaching to the choir because we were peaceful, we weren't violent, and that was kind of disturbing to me because it seems like, okay, you're not really paying attention to the message. And I do want to say, peacefulness isn't going to work. As far as, I don't agree with violence, I don't agree with tearing up anything, but people have to be uncomfortable to have empathy. If somebody's feeling pain and you have empathy, you're feeling pain too. You're not at peace. So when we say peaceful, we mean nonviolent. When we say peaceful, we mean non-destructive. But we will yell, we'll say what we need to say, we'll let you know our emotions, we'll have signs, but we want that discourse, we want that communication.
So you're going to be meeting on Fridays at 8 p.m.?
Yes.
Every Friday. Do you have particular different messages each week? Is it the same? What are you hoping to?
We just go with it. It's whatever.
Give
we're
her the
feeling.
mic there. Sorry.
We just go with it. Whatever we're feeling, it's just whatever. If you want to come out there and chant whatever you're feeling that day, you just come with it and we'll go with it. Whatever you're feeling, it's just whatever from your heart that day. If you want to say, get rid of Kendra that day, we're going to get rid of Kendra that day.
Okay, so
it's whatever from your heart. It's just, I mean, I don't know. It's just
how you're trying to support the movement.
Yeah.
And we got to understand too that, you know, yes, we're protesting out in the streets, but a lot, like you said, a lot of the stuff is going to go on behind the scenes. And that's one thing I want to touch on too real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off, Kendra. That's another thing. I got this one on. I know, but I want everybody to understand too, like, we have got to get in these city council meetings, and it's the time for a change. And I'm not here to bash the mayor or bash anybody's officials, but this has got to be heard. Like, it's time for a change in Lebanon. The people that's in the positions have been there for years, and we see that the same things has been happening. So it's time for a change. So it might be time for them to go, honestly, you know. And we can't just think because, you know, we're out here protesting on the street. That's not getting our voice heard. Like you said, when we go inside of these meetings, when we're going to other cities, like we've been to Louisville, I've been to Atlanta, we've been over to Adair County. When we're touching these other places, we're networking with people that might can give us information on someone we might need to get in contact to hold these people accountable for not doing their jobs. And that's a big thing I want to stress today too, is accountability. That's the main thing, is people have got to be accountable. Because like I said, if I don't go out here and do my job the way I'm supposed to, I'm going to be held accountable. And I feel like our officials, our police, firefighters, you're the TV man, anybody, if you're in a position, you should be held accountable for your actions.
So we are talking a lot about Lebanon. Have you been to the fiscal court meetings? Have you had any interaction with the county officials as well? Yes. What's been the feedback?
No, we haven't been to the fiscal meeting, not yet.
Oh, it's a special held meeting.
No, that was just city council. The fiscal meetings is the one with the Doherty guy at the
with Judge Doherty.
We haven't had a chance to get there yet.
The sheriff's office is under the fiscal.
While we're on the topic,
cooperation with the county,
we have requested a public forum at a city council meeting. The next one is going to be on July 13th at 7 p.m. So any community members who would be interested in joining us and speaking on racial issues, racial discrimination in Lebanon or Marion County, I guess Lebanon particularly, since it is city council. If you would like to join us, you'll need to go to City Hall and fill out a paper to request to be added to the agenda. And we hope to really educate our city officials and whoever can make it out that night.
Or they can get with one of us, and I have some extra copies of the papers. We would love for everybody to submit one, because they do limit the amount of time that you can speak, and I don't think 15 minutes is adequate enough time for just us five. We, like I told you when I first came, we all have our own issues with this racial problem, right, and all this systematic racism and injustice. So 15 minutes, she might have 15 minutes on her heart that she wants to speak. I might have 10 on mine. He might have 10. You know, right. I encourage everybody to submit the documents. I mean, it's all right.
Absolutely. So again, we're here with the Black Lives Matters movement for Lebanon and Marion County. We have several members of that organization here with us today. They are going to be meeting on Fridays at 8 p.m. at Martin Luther King Boulevard here in Lebanon, each for the future, for now, to try and bring awareness to this issue, trying to get some change occurring. And you can go and join them on their Facebook page. And again, the name of the Facebook page is?
Lebanon, Marion County, Black Lives Matter Movement.
And that way you can learn more about, as well, the meeting that they're going to be having with the City Council here in Lebanon. And as we said, it's a lot of different issues that we're addressing. It's not just the police brutality that has been getting a lot of media attention, as it should, with what was occurring, but there are lots of issues that are trying to be addressed and make people aware of some change that needs to occur. So hopefully we can let our viewers know, and they can join you, become more aware of what's going on. So you're saying, as we want to close out here, can you tell us a little about what's your hope that next year, if we were to get together again for this, and you're meeting over this time, what's your hope that you could see occurring here locally, but also on a broader scale?
A few things that I personally would like to see is, you know, that there's a stop put to the police brutality. Also, that we see more minorities and men and women of color in leadership positions. You know, that they have more homes, more businesses, that our kids aren't afraid of the police. You know, they're meant to protect and to serve. They shouldn't be afraid of them, that they've grown a bond where they know that this man's going to protect them or this woman's going to protect them, that we don't have to deal with this. That's what I would like to see, I'm going to say, a year from now.
I would like to see transparency in local government. As we said earlier, we have a little bit of issue finding specific policies to read over. When we were in our city council meeting, someone did bring up what our no-knock policy may be, or what the policy is on no-knock raids in Lebanon, and we were told that those had never been used, and then had some people who had been victims of that who felt that they had been used, and it could have been a miscommunication. But we definitely want to see more concrete policies, not just on no-knock raids or anything like that, but just in general about discrimination in the city. And we want to know how that's going to be enforced, how our police officers are going to be better trained, and how they're going to be disciplined for if something like the Breonna Taylor or George Floyd situations were to happen in Lebanon.
Well, I agree with everything you guys both said, and then I would like to see our community come together. You guys, more young people out here pulling together, us coming together, 100% involved in all of our community. Look at me, committees, more active, taking over the NAACP. You know, we get in here, get involved, just pulling together.
I would like to see like more for like these young kids to do. You got all of these empty buildings. Like, you can just put something for these young kids to do, just so they stay out of trouble.
I am definitely big on transparency. We are in an age of technology and media. There's no reason that there should be one page on our police department. We should be able to access the policies. We should be able to see the background of the officers. If an officer gets fired, we should know the reason so that we can understand what's going on. I mean, to me, that seems like an important way to protect our community. I love having a discourse between community members. Everybody's not going to agree on everything, but to have everybody's opinion out there so that people can say, hey, I've never looked at it like this, and get different perspectives. I mean, I think that'd be great. Personally, I don't like getting in trouble, and I don't like feeling like every time a cop pulls behind me, like I'm gonna, even if I'm doing something just fine, I don't want to feel that sense of fear. There's no reason I should feel afraid if I'm not doing anything wrong. So, and I actually have noticed a little bit more comfort when someone's behind me that, hey, they're cops. They're not going to hurt me. They are doing their job. I feel a lot better now that I'm looking at that. So I want everybody to feel more comfortable as well.
And the empathy, I think, is an important thing. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Making more people can have empathy for others' situations, whomever they are, then that can lead to change as well. So making people aware of what's going on, that's great. So we did get a question that we want to ask from our, as we said, it was on Facebook Live as we were doing this through the Facebook page for the Black Lives Matters movement. And the question basically is, what in our small town or in our community here can be done to affect change for the police and for the government in our community here? So would somebody want to address that for us?
I definitely believe that coming to city council meetings, you can get online and go to the city council or Lebanon City and find the times of the meetings. Going to those meetings, making yourself present and representing. I think that's very important. Being aware of what's going on, what changes and decisions are being made at the meetings. And with the government, I really push for educating. We spend 12 years in school learning, in my eyes, after being exposed to some of the things I've been exposed to in college, in my eyes we have consumed a watered down version of history. And that's what makes it so easy to think, okay, you have the civil rights movement, you have MLK, everything's on an equal playing field now. You should stop whining. You know, you hear those things. Slavery is over. Nobody's been slaves. You hear those things a lot, and it's very easy to believe that way when you're consuming a watered-down version of history. If you're not learning about the experimentation of African Americans up until the 80s, and you're not learning about the economic pushback that African Americans received for hundreds of years, if that's not in your mindset, it's really easy to misunderstand. So I think that that's probably, fighting for your children's education is one of the big things.
And with redlining issues with mortgage companies and also
Yes.
with the whole election laws, none of them are often taught in schools
Yes.
around the country. So that's a good opportunity to, education can bring about change as well. As we were saying, empathy can also education, where you learn and are informed of situations. I'm sorry?
I just want to add on to that. Just again, we have to pull together as a community once again, educate ourselves, and hopefully Booker will pull it out. And we got to stay with Booker, educate ourselves again, and we just got to stay together and help one another. So go to all of our meetings, like Tiara said, and work together, and stay on top of all these laws, because we can do it. If we pull together, we can do it.
I'm gonna piggyback off of what Kendra said. Like she said, hopefully Booker pulls through, and I think the main thing right now people need to focus on too is election time. We've got to get out here and vote, because the people that's in these positions that has these laws and they can make these changes are in the office, but they might not want to. We need to get the people in there that wants to make these changes. Also, I want people, you know, to also to understand this movement is gonna be a while. It's gonna be around for a while. It's not gonna be just wake up tomorrow, everything's changed. So my best, don't want to really give advice, but the best thing that I think myself that I'm doing is actually figuring out what part do I play in this movement and how I can help the movement. And I think once people, you know, realize that and they get involved with the movement, then once everybody kind of gets on the same page, then we'll start seeing those changes.
Great. We also want to mention, too, you have events coming up. You have well, you had the protest on Fridays, but you also have a rally. Do you have that you mentioned, and a meeting with the city hall that you want to reiterate about for us?
We're protesting every Friday at 8 p.m. We'll be meeting at MOK by Cardinal Den in Lebanon, Kentucky, and also we will be July the 13th. We'll be at the city council meeting. I believe it starts at 7 o'clock. We would like to meet maybe, you know, 6 o'clock, an hour prior to that, and march up there. And we would love the entire community, anyone who feels the same way that we feel, or you feel like any type of injustice is going on, we ask you to please come and be a part. You got power in numbers. Power in numbers. Please.
Those who don't feel comfortable speaking in the forum on race issues at the city council meeting, we also would invite them, I think, to attend and just sit out and show their support with us all as well.
And just because, guys, whenever you get involved with this stuff, I'm pretty sure like Caleb and all these guys never in a million years thought about joining the NAACP. But ever since they've been out here protesting, now they're all becoming members of the NAACP. You never know where this movement may take you. So get involved. You never know where it may lead you to. So now they're all proud members of the NAACP. So come, get involved. You never know where it may lead you to.
The last thing that I want to say, this is for the entire community. I'm not trying to be smart. I just want everybody to understand something. You know, just because y'all haven't seen us out on the streets, I just want y'all to understand we will not stop. We are not going to stop. We are going to fight. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. No matter how many people don't want to hear our voice, we're still going to let it be heard. Don't think because we're not out there one day that we're not coming back. We are not going to stop. We are going to let our voices be heard, like it or not. It's time for a change, and we want it now.
Well, thank you very much for being here with us today and talking with us. Again, this has been with the Black Lives Matters movement for Lebanon and Marion County, and join them on Friday evenings here in Lebanon, or go to their Facebook page and find out more. It's been Gary White, Channel 6 Central Kentucky Television.